Welcome again to AHA. Remember what it stands for?
A human among humans?
Yes, and this is,
Yeah.
it is so nice to have such a human being as you here. It really is. That's really
be
our
with
show.
you as well.
Oh, and that's our show, folks. We're just going to admire each other for the next hour. And admire those who are watching us. Thank you, Columbia. Thank you, Barbara. Feel the human. Now we have poems to help us move and be even more human among human beings, right? Whatever that means.
Sure, yeah, celebrating positive things of being human.
Can we celebrate negative things that we know they're negative and it helps us?
Yes.
Remember what
That's
mansplaining is?
Mansplaining, yes, I think I do.
Tell us, that should be beautiful. Just
I wonder if I really remember.
Yes, that's good. It'll be very good even. However,
It's a term that describes a man being condescending towards a woman, and a man trying to explain something, but he's actually doing it in a erroneous way.
yes, like me telling, like if we were in a group like yesterday, and me telling people what hospice is
Yeah.
when we have you there.
Right. So it captures the oppression and the entitlement.
It's amazing the things that used to be manly that I thought were good. Let me explain it to you, my inferior being, my little inferior being. And you can't do that anymore. I get slammed. Which is good. I'm glad. I'm glad. So there's new ethics about how to be a man. It's confusing.
I can imagine.
Yes. But maybe how to be a woman too. Is that true? Maybe not.
Well, I
You got
know
it made.
it's hard in healthcare. I work in the home with a family as a nurse, and I'm often, and I work with a different culture than my culture, and I'm often reminded of reading Barbara Kingsolver, and she wrote the Poisonwood Bible about a missionary who thought he was helping, I think it was African family, and realized really he wasn't helping them.
How did he think he was helping? Do you remember?
I don't know, that's a good question. I think of also how Americans, I think our government tried to make it so Native Americans couldn't speak their language
Yes,
or
but
have
maybe
their culture.
maybe we thought they were
In
helping
school, they were forced to speak only English and move from their family to the school. I forget what that was all about, but it definitely was stripping of positive aspects of their culture.
Yeah, big time.
It was more than just deciding people should speak English in America. There was something much more to it. It might have been because they were relocated to the schools. It was such a tragedy. So I often, in healthcare, there's also it's a tricky line to walk with giving advice and thinking maybe you know better what's good for.
Oh yes. What example, as you might say, springs to mind?
Suggesting maybe a camp is good, and then finding out from someone that who was Argentine, who said that really a lot of Latinos don't really like sending their kids to camp. They really value the family time. And I had a lot of frustration in that really the camp wasn't chosen as an opportunity. So it just, I'm constantly trying to be reflective and really feel out that position. You know, I'm sure it's the same when you're in a position of power, and you have to be really careful about how you're going about it.
Yes, and maybe be kind of all the bad things I did that I thought were helpful, and explaining to women, telling them what, thinking I was the superior being, to hide the fact that I felt like I was an inferior being.
Yeah, it's always good to have self-compassion and see where you were
Oh,
coming
boy.
from when.
I would criticize. I had a friend.
Mhm.
She was a poet. I would rewrite her poetry. She loved Stanley Kunitz, and I thought he wasn't a good poet. He became the national poet laureate. Just two of many things. My beloved first wife published in places like the Boston Review of Books, nothing I could do, and I was critical of her article rather than sell it. Even when she got her PhD, and I went to the ceremony, I said, this is a farce, and not realizing what an amazing accomplishment that was for her. 39 or in her 40s rather, went back to school and getting a PhD. But we have to look at the positive side to discover, celebrate how I can now see how bad I've been, right? Don't we celebrate that?
Yeah, and also trying to understand why you were doing what you were doing. I suspect, knowing your nature, there was an aspect that you were trying to be helpful, and you're always thinking and trying to offer critique and.
Right, but it was
But
hidden by
it sounds like it's humbling to look back and.
Yeah, or I'm learning to celebrate it. I used to think,
Yeah.
I'm celebrate that I know how bad I have been. I was telling Michelle as we were walking up to do the show for you, I am not any more horrified at how horrifying I have been. It's so freeing. Yes, okay. I know I was supposed to be a man, I thought, and be in control, and to know stuff, and to be smarter than a woman. Probably, yes, right? And meanwhile, I was underneath it all, just cowering in my corner, not knowing that, really. So now, at the advanced age of 70s, there's hope for all of us. And with this great feminist movement, right? Making up new words to show you men how bad we have been. Right? So I heard there's even white-splaining, I won't even go into it.
And that word was one of the noteworthy words of the year.
Yes,
I
yes.
think. Yeah.
Mansplaining.
Mm-hmm.
So you never know what's coming next year to reveal things you thought you were doing well. And that's fine, right? That's growth to know.
Sounds like one of the mysteries of the 7 mysteries.
It is the
you were
of good and
reading.
evil, yes.
Yeah.
But we won't tell you now unless there's a huge phone call.
Yeah.
We don't even have the phone on. We don't want the phone on yet, because Michelle's going to read one of the poems that won my love. I was often wondering, should I be with this woman from northern New Hampshire? Very different than me, different in age, different in upbringing. And I had these poems pinned on the cabinets over the sink. And I would remember what a wonderful poet you are, and that helped me get through some of my fears. I said, she's a good poet, Michael, stay with her. listen to her poetry. So why don't you read
Okay.
one of the two that was...
So I did write this for Michael. I really enjoyed sharing poetry, and he inspired me to write more poetry when we first started seeing each other.
When we first started, I told Michelle we just were getting our first walk from the dance Friday. I walk you to your car, and then you say the old feminine brilliance. Oh, would you like a ride to your car, Michael? So we got to know each other a little bit, and I said, somewhat innocently, I send out a poem a day, and I send you one, and you said yes, and then you sent me back a poem. Wow, this is an expert on how to reveal to a man how beautiful you really are. So here's one of the poems.
We got together and lived together for 3 years.
Yes.
And we're no longer living together, but we're beyond significant others.
Ooh, and I can feel it. I hope we can share the love with you. I hope you can feel the growing love.
And yeah. So
one of my poems is, once you plant the seed, love grows like a weed. Can you see the weedy growing in our hair?
Wow, it's a wonderful, very special relationship. I just shut that off. I'm sorry.
Yes. Oh, is that?
I'm gonna be right back.
Wow. That happens. Her cell phone is very sensitive to when she's going to read a poem on television. Isn't that a sweet ring too?
Just a gargle. Okay.
That was a dramatic. I hope we kept you on the edge of your seat. And now we're going to hear.
Okay, so this is called Recycled, a Blessing.
I'm going to take it in this.
May all those thrown out scraps of paper that you extracted lines from your poems from come back as fresh pages to invite more and more poems written by you. Not only that, but may the leftover paper create envelopes too, bearing love and friendship messages to you. May you find that your old tires come back as your rubber-soled shoes to go on long walks by yourself and with loved ones. But mostly, may you suddenly and finally behold your beloved together with you, wrapped inside a surprisingly appealing colored fleece blanket made from plastic grocery bags that you carried home.
And this became true. Michelle helped me write this story by pages. She edited and inspired poems. This is my poetry book, Verse to Better. Poem for every day of our year. It's in the Harvard bookstore window on the side street. And so this poem became true. Someone once said, what you write well about will come true within 6 months. Right? And you can, this next poem about love, if you want to share it.
Sure. Okay.
This is also on my cabinet.
These were both poems written to you, actually.
Oh my.
Love. I love E.M. He is simple, he is cute. He has only a Big Ben clock, TV, and one painting in his room. Otherwise, it is clear of any clutter. He tells me that when he passes on, that I can have his Big Ben clock and his painting.
Huh?
He walks around the halls and often visits his woman friend, who waits for him on the love seat in the alcove midway down the hall. She sets herself up with crossword puzzles and eats her meals there in hopes he will come visit.
Wow. Women's wild.
She used to stay in her room until she met E.M. She is large and E.M. is small. He has the cutest expression when his dark eyes light up and his smile is complete with dimples. He gets angry and embarrassed at night if he can't hold it and wets his bed. He says, "Someone poured water all over my bed and I'm going to talk with management. This has got to stop." He calms down once we change the bedding for him. Some nurses have a hard time getting him to take his psych drug. When he first came to the nursing home, he said he didn't want to take his pills. I told him that was fine. I didn't make him take them. I didn't have trouble with him taking his pills for me again. I attribute it to the trust that he gave back to me. When I take a workshop on successful dating tips for women, I hear about a technique where you shine a light like a lighthouse, emanating your loving feelings for men. We are asked to generate good feelings of good men, since this will help attract a good man to love. I think how I love E.M.
So I was like a moth to the flame. I had no power to resist. This lighthouse of love is beaming. Just, they call this woman Meta, because she beams loving kindness. Wow. So how do you feel about these poems? What do you feel and think about both of these poems now?
I enjoy them very much. I like the I like recycled. I think it's I think one thing that you and I have always shared that I've appreciated, and I don't know if you would say the same thing, but I think that we both have an understanding of transformation. And so the recycled element, to understand how things can be made anew, and to still value that, is okay, and it's something I feel like we both share and understand, and so I appreciate that. And yeah, and even with you being older, it just
That's me. See the olderness.
makes it okay. Be in a relationship with an older person in that regard of understanding the kind of the timelessness.
Wow.
Of it,
Wow, timelessness of
of
transformation.
love and transformation, and yeah.
Well, timelessness is interesting. I feel it's growing, and timelessness would be, how would that work with, I feel it's growing stronger, but I guess at any moment it could feel timeless also. Is that true? It's just here.
Well, I think the process of understanding love and recycledness, that if you understand that concept, that's the part that's always timeless.
Oh, that is just
And-
always happening. Transformation is always happening. Well, there's also a timelessness if you're just here and now, present. Just us.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I can feel that too easily. But the other is easier for me, yes. We
Yeah.
keep growing and growing. Well, I'm taking them in a deeper way now, these poems. I'm going to cry. I would think that these were wonderful poems, but I wouldn't, and that would get in the way of really taking it in. And they became true. I mean, pages of poems. And the other became true too. I'm more like EM than you might have imagined.
I suspect, yeah.
Yeah, she's agreed. She could have said, "Oh no," but no, no. My Big Ben clock and my what else?
Painting.
And my painting, and that's it. And I don't wet my bed yet, but time will tell. Denying the things I do. Someone has poured water in my bed. This has got to stop. I'm going to speak to management. I would do that. Men do that, you know. This relationship is not working. Someone has got to change, not necessarily me. Wow. Well, those are beautiful. And you've written a new one for our show, yes?
No, I had this in the past that I had written for you.
Oh, and have I seen it?
Yeah, I wrote it kind of around the same time.
Oh, when we met? Wow, I can't
Yeah,
wait.
after we met.
Oh, but I maybe fortunately don't remember, so I can hear it as if I'm hearing it for the first time.
It was struggling of feeling some jealousy from past relationships, but as I wrestled with it, this is what came out.
Wow, jealousy of my past relationships. I was married, still love my first wife. Is that?
Yeah, well, and also just, yeah, your close friendships you had, and
Wow, and still have. Okay, well, we better move on. We have 3.5 minutes.
Okay,
Time
so
flies when you're reading great poetry.
okay. Grateful. I do not know who it was when you first held their head in your large hands lovingly, like a blessing, or when you discovered how someone would like it, but I am grateful. I do not know who you learned the lesson to take the time to really listen to me while I talk, maybe even a little extra than you normally would do, but whoever it was, I am grateful.
Wow.
I do not know who it was or all the people with whom you generated love in your chest that emanates out to me, but whoever they are and wherever they are, I am grateful.
Wow.
I do not know who it was that gave you advice to love and find a lover and realize that you were a lover who wanted to love, or who it was that you kissed and why you wanted to kiss again, or who it was that helped you along when you really needed it, or who it was that said, I love you to you, so that you then knew how to say it. But whoever it was, I am grateful.
Wow. That could make me cry. So you're grateful for all the women that I have learned with. Is that true?
Yeah,
Wow.
and men.
Mm. Well, these are beautiful poems. We're going to have a second half hour. The show will end in less than 2 minutes, where the book Michelle helped me write. I will have some poems I wrote over the years, inspired by you.
Okay.
We're giving you coming attractions. And so why don't we end with you telling me and our audience, and maybe yourself, what does it feel like to read these poems again now?
Feels great. I'm glad over time with our relationship that it's calm and grounded, so that it doesn't feel like reaching for it. That maybe some of these poems, it was a wish or you know, more of a level that wasn't so grounded, that it feels like now much calmer and much more grounded. So I like going back, and I'm glad I still like the poems, and so it's, yeah, it's nice. It feels like it's still part of me. It doesn't feel like sometimes I wrote some poems that are kind of obscure and didn't really stick with me.